So, in this episode, I'm going to explore 12 reasons why learning about the soul, learning about consciousness, and specifically learning about life after death can help you in your own life to become more connected and to become more connected with your own purpose. Okay, so we're down to reason number 6. This one is about the ethics of the soul. And this is not just to do with the human soul, but it's to do with all types of souls. So human, animal, plants, nature, the planet in general. Again, the old materialist view has had us believe that first that humans are really at the top of the hierarchy. You know, we're the most intelligent ones. We're the ones that are intelligent and conscious, and the animals and the plants are not conscious. They don't have any consciousness, so we can just do whatever the hell we want with them. I know that you guys watching this, I know that you definitely don't think that. But the problem is that there's still so many people that think that and that believe that this is the reality and that this is the truth. Honestly, I can't believe that we're literally in 2026 and we're still arguing with whether or not an animal has consciousness or an animal has feelings or a plant is conscious. It's just, it is so it is, I mean, I have no word because I deeply care about animals. I just think that um I think that this is it's so horrendous. Some of the things that we're doing to animals still up until today. I'm not going to go into the whole vegan thing. But yes, I am vegetarian. I try to be vegan. Vegan is definitely hard, but again, this is regardless of whether you're vegetarian or you eat meat, it doesn't matter. The whole point is that we have to see that consciousness is permeates every single thing, and that includes human, it includes animal, it includes plants. It is in every living thing that exists in our on our planet. And I think that if we try to see it more from that perspective, then we become a lot more conscious of how our own actions are affecting those around us. And if we reconnect with that ancient wisdom, if we reconnect with the idea that we have consciousness and that everything else that is alive is also conscious and it has consciousness, it has a soul, it has feelings, then I think we are much less likely to create any sort of harm on another being, whether that's a human or an animal or again, like Mother Nature. Um, and honestly, guys, at the end of the day, this is gonna weigh less on your own soul. Important for us to start learning about the soul, start learning about how not just humans have souls, but also animals have souls, plants have souls. And the more we kind of integrate that into our own knowing, I think the easier it becomes for us to realize, you know, we need to treat everyone with respect, not just the humans, but the animals too, the nature too. And again, that really helps you to have a clearer conscience, because ultimately that's what we take away with us. Um, it's our consciousness, our conscience, our memories, our experiences. That's the only thing we take away with us. We don't take away the physical material things. You know, you don't take away your diplomas or your achievements from work or your golden, you know, watches and stuff like that. You don't take away any of that. That's just the material stuff, which yes, is great. You know, we love a little bit of flashy here and flashy there. But at the end of the day, the only things we do take away with us are our own experiences, our own memories of the things that we did throughout our life. So again, I think that's really important to reconnect with the soul and learn about how consciousness actually functions. Reason number 7 kind of ties into the previous one with the ethics of the soul, and it's really the ecological dimension. Again, if we don't believe that anything else has life inside of it, has consciousness inside of it, we're a lot less likely to stand up for it, to protect it, to want to actually improve it in any sort of way, to actually want to yeah, create something that is a better condition for that. So whether that's we're talking about the nature side of things, if we don't believe that we are connected to nature, if we think that we're completely disconnected from nature, disconnected from um, the trees outside of our garden or the plants in our own house, if we feel that these are just objects that have literally no consciousness inside of them, then we're a lot more likely to treat them just as objects and to kind of, discard them whenever we want. But when we realize that how consciousness actually works and how every single being, every single thing that is alive has consciousness, then we're a lot more likely to take care of it, to actually really have that thing in mind and be able to do something that is positive for that thing, not just for ourselves. Okay, so reason number 8 is a very, very important one, and it's about death positivity. So there are about 20,000 death cafes that exist now around the world in 93 countries, or probably it's even more now. But there's a quiet death positivity movement that is happening where people are starting to open up more and more about death, about dealing with death, about preparing for death. Because again, this is a topic that really has been a taboo for the majority of, the 20th century. It was something that was kind of, let's not talk about this, let's not think about this, we kind of just prefer to think that it's never going to happen to us. And we kind of just push it into the back of our minds. But of course, the reality is that there are people every single day dying. There's millions of people dying every single day. And again, because of the materialist view that we have adopted up until now, which is the idea that past death, there's nothing else that exists. You just die and you just disappear completely forever. Um, that is a very traumatic view and perspective to have on death, like extremely traumatic. I mean, just imagine, I'm sure if you guys have ever experienced, you know, dealing with your own mortality, please comment below and say, mention what it was like for you to actually come face to face with something like this. But from my own experience of seeing a loved one pass away, it was so traumatizing. It was the most traumatizing thing I've ever been through because we're not a family who really believed in anything like this, in anything spiritual. My family comes from a very mixed background. My dad's Greek, my mom is from Turkish background. So we were never very religious because it was a mix of everything. And we weren't very religious. We were never really spiritual or believed in anything. We didn't really need to question it because I guess we never experienced it up until my mom passed away. Um, and it was honestly the most traumatic thing. Like just looking looking at my mom and looking at her eyes and just looking at that fear that she had in her because she didn't know. She didn't know. We didn't know what happens after death. We just thought, that's it. And honestly, that is literally the most traumatizing thing. And I cannot tell you guys how we have to change this. Like, we cannot continue forward thinking that there's nothing past death, that this is just the end, and sayonara, like, I'm never gonna see you again, that's it. It's been great so far. It's just the most ridiculous thing, the most ridiculous lie that we've ever been told, both by religion because you go to heaven and hell, or hell and most likely hell because you've done all these bad things in your life and you haven't been a good person, and by science, which basically tells you that, yeah, you don't exist past the brain. Like, that's it. Once your body dies, you're gone. And I honestly cannot believe that we have made it this far still believing this lie. Is just the most ridiculous thing that I think humanity has ever believed in. And guys, if you're watching this, please, comment below, and if you agree with me, please let me know, because I definitely know I'm not the only one. But I don't know why people are not really pushing to get this truth out there, that that death isn't the end, that death is not the end all be all. And again, coming back to this thing, it's just so traumatizing for people who are having to face their own mortality, who are having to deal with their own death. I mean, imagine just literally being told, you have 2 weeks to live, or 1 month to live, or 5, 6 months to live. And it's just that fear that just grips you, like, it's just, we just can't continue this. So anyway, this is another reason, a very big reason, and as you can see, a very triggering reason for me to why we should definitely explore consciousness and life after death. And I honestly think that this would make such a huge impact on so many people, not just the ones that are dying and dealing with their own death, but also the ones that are grieving for them. And um, yeah, I think a lot of lives can be changed. And one more thing I want to mention about that is they're about, at the moment, in terms of searches online on search engines like Google, they're around 500,000, up to 500,000, between 300,000 to 500,000 searches on the key term, what happens in life after death, or just life after death. 500,000 per month. Again, guys, I think it's a no-brainer that we have to throw this idea that there's no life after death in the bin. We have to throw this idea. We have to completely just tear it apart and just burn it, throw it, and just completely get rid of it, because it is not helping anyone. Anyone, whether you're grieving, whether you're dying, whether you're just dealing with your own crisis, it is not helping anyone. And I really like this idea that now there's so much more. Recently, in the last few years, there are all these death cafes that are coming up. There are all these communities that are now finally opening up to, speaking about death. But I think it's still kind of limited to the material view. I think it has to we have to kind of combine it with death positivity and life after death, because I think it will make a huge difference. I mean, imagine if you're dealing with your own mortality, if you were told that you're going to die in 2 months, wouldn't it wouldn't it be so much nicer if you knew that your spirit is going to continue to live on, that you can actually come back and visit your family and see how they're doing, and send them some signs and send them some feathers and let them know that you're still there, and kind of watching them. Wouldn't that be so nice? Why don't we just do this? Why don't we just, throw away that old idea that we're nothing more than this physical body, and embrace this new idea. It's not just an idea, but it's an actual fact now, that we are so much more than the physical body. So keep that in mind. Hey guys, so this is probably one of my favorite topics and reasons as to why we should explore consciousness and life after death. And this reason is about the idea that the spiritual world is not a passive world. So, what do I mean by that? We have, as I explained earlier, we have the physical self and the spiritual self. So normally they go hand in hand. That's how it's supposed to be. What we've done in the last, since the Newtonian ages, we have separated from the two, where we said, no, this side doesn't exist. We're just the physical self. So we literally lost half of ourselves in a way. So if we think about bringing that side back and kind of marrying the two together, which is what it's supposed to be, um, the one of the things that you start to see and kind of notice as you explore more and more of this spiritual reality, which I'm sure you already are if you're watching this video, one of the biggest things is that this spiritual world, this non-physical reality, is constantly and always interacting with the physical reality. Always. It's like there's nothing that happens on the physical level that hasn't already happened on the spiritual level. And there are literally so many examples I can give you for this. For example, people who are medical mediums, for example, can tell you that normally an illness shows up in your spiritual body, in your aura, way before it shows up in the physical reality. So you could have, for example, if you have a cancer, um, you have a physical cancer, it probably showed up in your field years before it actually manifested into the physical reality, which is why it's always, I think it's a really good idea to kind of, well, first to connect with that part of yourself, with your soul body, because there are, if you really are able to tap into that aspect of you, you can kind of feel where you might have blockages. And really physical illnesses are from energetic blockages, and we all know that by now. Like, it's well spoken about, it's a lot spoken about in the holistic community and the medical, sort of holistic medical community. But yeah, any sort of illness normally comes from an energetic block. So there's something that's energetically disconnected or blocked, where it's not allowing for the chi to flow into through the body, around the body, because we all have the chi, we have the energy that is constantly flowing and energizing our body. If there is a blockage there, then of course that's going to start to affect the whole system. So that's just, that's just one way to see it. Another way to see it is, again, having explored this field now, the life after death field, for a decade. It's become very obvious to me that there are all kinds of energies that are constantly influencing us, energies, entities. So I guess on the positive side, it could be, ancestral energies. Like I mentioned before, in the ancestral reason, we can actually have ancestors coming through and trying to help us, guide us. So again, they're coming in and they're kind of influencing us with their own consciousness, with their own energy into that we are receiving into our energy field, and that we can either feel or not feel. But that's one way. The most negative side of that, I guess you could say, is we can also be influenced more negatively by maybe spirits that are lost, spirits that are stuck. When I first started, man, oh gosh, when I first started learning about this field, one of the biggest breakthroughs that I had was about how spirits can attach themselves to you. So I'm not going to go into detail about this right now, but sometimes spirits can attach themselves to you. And what happens is you start to feel very heavy, very not like yourself. You start to feel very like icky, like something's wrong, but you don't really know what, because physically everything's fine. And for me, that was a big breakthrough, especially because when I was in my 20s, in my younger days, when I used to go out and when I used to drink, I always used to get this feeling. I always used to feel just so heavy. Like literally, I would just have one glass of alcohol, and like wine even. Not it doesn't have to be anything strong, but I could straight away I could just feel literally within 20 minutes, I could just feel this heaviness. Like I was literally carrying like a piece of luggage, like a big bag on top of my shoulders, and I was like, gosh, why am I getting that? And all of my friends seemed to be completely fine. They were just, partying, and I was there just like, what the hell is going on? Why am I feeling like this? I literally cannot function. So I remember just going home and just feeling like there's something wrong with me. I don't know why I'm feeling so just weird. And then when I started learning about this field, when I started delving into this topic, and thank God for my teachers who taught me pretty much everything I know about this, I was able to learn that yes, there are things on that side that can affect you. And if you don't protect yourself, if you're someone who's doing spiritual work, especially, and if you don't protect yourself, you are really kind of opening the door to these kind of things to come in and to affect you. And that was a big light bulb moment for me, because, and I have to say, it was a positive. It was a like I reacted in a positive way, because I finally had a reason, like as to why I'm feeling like this. So it wasn't just me; it was actually something that really was affecting me. Because at one point I started to think, "Oh my gosh, I'm going crazy," like why am I feeling like this? But finally I was like, okay, that makes sense. So then once you know this, you know that when you go out, if you're very sensitive, which I totally am, to energies of all kinds, you have to do some sort of a protection thing, or you just have to be careful with when you go and be around certain crowds, or if you go into certain areas, or if you're in a specific type of old buildings that has a lot of just general, just old energies in there, then you know that, okay, I really have to make sure I either cleanse myself after that or protect myself before I go in there. So it just starts to make so much more sense. It just starts to make so much more sense. And even down to simple things like if you're, if you're on the bus or on the train and you're sitting next to a person, someone that you don't know, and half an hour later you start to feel very depressed and you're like, "Ah, I don't understand this. I was feeling perfectly okay today. I had a good start to my morning. And then all of a sudden you just have this shift in energy. Well, that's your indication that most likely you've absorbed an energy. Just, it doesn't have to be an entity. It can just be a general energy that you've just absorbed from that person. And again, when I started to view reality from that perspective, so many things started to make sense. Honestly, just so many things. So again, guys, that's a huge reason as to why we should all really verse ourselves on consciousness, on the soul, how souls function, and how life after death functions. Okay, so we're almost at the end. We have reason number 11. A big reason, again, for why we should learn about consciousness is that, like I said before, it helps us to understand how reality actually functions. How reality really, how the non-physical reality is constantly affecting the physical reality, and you just cannot separate the two. You can try in your mind, you can tell yourself, oh no, this stuff doesn't exist, which is what I used to do. But ultimately it doesn't work. It doesn't work because it will affect you, and you'll see. And the more you deny that, um, the worse it gets for you, because you're basically trying to deal with a problem which actually doesn't exist on the physical. It exists on the spiritual level. So if we deal with that problem first, then this problem is going to disappear. And that's normally how it works with everything. First, it's the spiritual layer, and then is the physical layer. And if we address the spiritual layer, the non-physical quantum field layer of ourselves, then the physical is always going to reflect that. As above, so below. Both are always connected with each other. And I think if we think about our reality from that perspective and kind of see everything as like existing on the physical and spiritual level, everything starts to make so much sense. And yeah, again, guys, I really encourage you to even look up, if you're not so much into the spiritual stuff, but maybe just look up quantum physics. So much now of quantum physics is all about, the energetic reality, the quantum world, the energy world, which we all know exists. I mean, this is like from the scientific perspective, we know the quantum level exists. We know that every atom is actually just energy inside. When you look at the atom, there's just spinning vortices of energy. There's nothing actually inside of it. So everything is energy. Everything, we come from an energetic world, and then that energetic world kind of gets condensed more and more and more into the physical reality. But everything that exists on the physical first has a sort of like a blueprint on the spiritual level. That's how I like to think of it. So it's kind of like if we try to deal with what's wrong in the blueprint of our field, then the physical is always going to reflect that. So again, a really good reason to explore consciousness, and also quantum physics. I think quantum physics is definitely, picking up steam now, and I think now is a great time to explore this field because, yeah, it relates to pretty much everything in our reality. Number 12, last reason as to why it's really important for us to explore consciousness, to explore the soul, is that it helps us with our own gifts, our own personal gifts, personal spiritual gifts. So again, this is something that's quite common, but a lot of people tend to not talk about it because again, they're scared that they'll be seen as a weird person. They'll be scared that maybe no one else is gonna understand what they mean. But almost everyone I speak to, regardless of whether they are spiritual or not, or believe in any of this stuff or not, almost everyone will kind of tell me a story of how, one time they knew that something's going to happen that hasn't already happened, that was about to happen, and then it happened. So sort of like the clairvoyant visions, or people would have dreams, seeing their deceased loved ones, or they would see a spirit, or they would see like something weird like that would happen. So I feel like all of these things are really very much connected to like the personal gifts that we have, the sort of the specific things that we're maybe gifted at. So maybe you're clairvoyant and you can see things that are on the non-physical level. Maybe you're clairaudient, where you can hear stuff that are not coming from the physical reality, or you just have this knowing. I think I definitely have that. Like ever since I was young, I could remember I just I just knew things, and I didn't know how I knew them. I just knew them, and then that will be proven to be true later on. But I just knew stuff. Like for example, I knew the day on which my grandpa was going to die. I just knew. I remember I just knew it was going to be a Monday. I don't know why. I just knew it's going to be a Monday. Yeah, I think I remember thinking that probably the week before, and then Monday came and he passed away. He was already very very old. He had a lot of issues. So we were kind of already expecting that. But I remember very clearly thinking, he's going to die on a Monday. He's going to die. And then the thing is, at this point, because he died on a Monday, and because I was very young and didn't know of how these things work, of course, I thought, oh my gosh, did I cause this? Was it because I thought about it, And honestly, I live with that, not guilt, but I honestly thought that I had caused it until again I started learning about this field. I started learning about how people can actually have these clairvoyant visions and predictions and premonitions, and that's actually a very very common thing. So again, don't be scared of your gifts. If you have a gift, if you feel that you're gifted in something, um, definitely explore that, because there is a very good reason why you have that. So I think if we connect with ourselves on that level, it also allows you to really more deeply connect within yourself. So again, exploring that whole field, exploring the non-physical reality can hugely help us to really get to know who we truly are on a spiritual level, on a soul level, in terms of what is my purpose, why am I here, well, what am I supposed to bring into this world. um and so yeah, I will leave you with this final reason. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know which one of these, if any, resonated with you. Let me know which one you think or you find the most important, or if you have experienced any of those reasons and you can definitely vouch for that. I think it really helped for us to see why these things are so important, and why it's so important for us to really finally openly start connecting, not connecting, but exploring this whole field, and without shame, without feeling like, oh, people are going to think I'm weird. Or guys, after everything I've told you, I think I've given you more than enough reasons to show you why it is at this point, it's critical that we connect with this side of reality. It is critical that we reconnect with that level of ourselves and who we truly are. I really really do, because without it, there's just so much suffering in the world, and it really doesn't have to be this way. It really doesn't have to be this way. And I think the more we acknowledge that, the more we start to remember that ancient wisdom that the ancients from in every single culture have been talking about, how we are spiritual beings. If we actually started to truly connect with that knowledge, I think we'll be able to change and transform our lives, but also the lives of others and the planet in general. So again, if you like this video, please let me know, give me a comment, and also just to remind you, we're doing a free monthly event with my two teachers, the very people who introduced me to this whole field and who have been doing this for more than 3 decades. And it's just truly fascinating to really dip your toe into that world. So if you haven't, I strongly encourage you guys to come. It's completely free. Just follow the link below and subscribe. So I really hope to see you there. And if not, I'll see you on the next video. So take care. Bye.